Hi, everybody. Valerie McSorley here with another episode of CX Tech Talk sponsored by Zappix. This is a conversation where we bridge the gap between AI and CX. And today I'm thrilled to introduce you to Laurence Bloom. Laurence, thanks for joining us today. You are someone that's pretty active in the CXPA community here in the Boston area. And I believe that's where Yossi Abraham, our CEO at Zappix, first bumped into you. And I know that you've had some great conversations and really passionate about the topic. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Valerie. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you having me here. I have been CX practitioner for the last 10 years. I'm currently a strategic account lead and thought leader strategist at Ipsos in their customer experience and employee experience service line. So what that means is I really bring the knowledge that Ipsos has in research and strategy to our clients to help them think about not just where they are in their CX maturity curve, but how to improve that through the right initiatives in technology, in measurement and process, and in activation.
Awesome. Awesome. So what are you seeing? Because right now is a very interesting time in the industry. What are you seeing right now? What do clients have an appetite for?
Right now, they are really thinking about like how to analyze all this unstructured data in a really meaningful way. There's so much to look at and analyze and really activate. This is something that when I'm hearing from my clients, they are actually thinking about what's the best way to actually analyze the data. Do we build our own tool? Do we
Mm-hmm.
leverage external platforms and optimize what we currently have? Ultimately, the question is, what are our use cases?
Yes.
How do we want to use the information? Ask that question, think about the design first, and then allow the technology to then feed and enable that business objective. So I think those at a high level, those are the conversations that I'm hearing initially with my clients. So they know they have to do something. And some clients are thinking about the right way to do this, whether it's internally building it, their own, or again, external going with another vendor.
That's really interesting because, this is a really interesting time because everyone knows they have to do something. They know there's big changes coming. And I'm seeing a mixture between just full on enthusiasm to get there to the finish line as fast as they can, to outdo their competitor, to be there and provide the best experience. Also coupled with some fear and anxiety around what's coming up, coming down the pike fast. So where are you in that sort of, if I was to plot and plan your temperament level, where are you along that? I think you're on the excitement side based on what you do, but how would you guide your clients?
They have to think about really again the use case and about building trust. And again, I think at the end of the day, we have a really strong appetite to lean in on this one and to
Mm-hmm.
be efficient, but we cannot forget the human aspect of AI. That when there's that design, we have to think
Mm-hmm.
about, okay, we are humans, we are
Yes.
social creatures, we want to interact, we want there to be some efficiencies, we want to learn, we want to discover and experiment, but we also want it to be seamless. And we don't
Yes.
want it to be something that we have to really, adopt to. We're hoping that again, the systems adopt really to how we learn and how we are really leaning in on with our emotions. So I would say really the question is about trust, about
Yes.
control, and about really being transparent. So I think that's where clients that I talk to are thinking about, okay, how can we be transparent? How can we show trust? And again, how do we again give the control to our customers to feel like they have the control with the experiences, and we're not really asking them to do something very different where they're very uncomfortable.
Well, that you bring up a few really interesting points for me. So, trust is something that it takes a lifetime to establish and can be fractured in an instant. So, if organizations will not get many chances to regain that trust, so that's something that's got to be taken really cautiously. I'm also thinking a little bit about what you said in terms of, really they have to walk before they run. And I think that as consumers, we want to know if we're engaging with AI or not, right? I think that's part of building the trust. I want to know because some of it's really sometimes hard to tell. I've been at many conferences now where they're playing a real agent and they're playing an AI bot and people don't know. So how are you guiding your clients around that process?
It really is understanding your customers and how they want to
Mm,
engage. It's having a real, if you will, almost a co-creation with your clients. Think about, okay, what is that UX experience? What is that overall experience going to be? Then engagement, and really understand the different segments. And frankly, if you will, the emotional connections that these experiences have with the brand. Because ultimately, like you
mhm,
said, it could be one interaction that ultimately that experience now has really impacted negatively the brand promise. And so, when clients are thinking about AI as, again, an automated, efficient tool, really, and have very good intentions of really supporting the needs of our customers, you have to ask yourself again, though, how does that align those actual experiences with the brand promise? Because certain population, certain segments, they're not ready for it. So you have to
mhm.
understand how you introduce it. And as you said earlier, make sure that they're crawling first before they're actually then running, and really asking their customers to really engage with areas of their business um, that they're not ready to do. So they have to take more of that outside in approach versus that inside out approach, if that makes sense.
But you bring up something really interesting to me around the concept of brand promise. Now, brands make the promise, and I buy from the brand because I, believe in it. I maybe be loyal to it. But now with a lot of the customer service pieces being outsourced, you're starting to see issues, and I'm sure you're no stranger to seeing some of the lawsuits come up where the brands are being sued because there's a data breach. But the data breach is really happening with the BPO or the third party outsourcer, and companies the average consumer doesn't understand that the brand's not doing their own customer service. So how does that intersect? Because it's so fascinating to me where we have all of the pieces of these strategic puzzles, but who the responsibility lies with the brand, but the experience and the tools may be with a third party vendor. So how does that intersect for you?
Consumers don't care ultimately. They're not going to ask themselves, okay, is this really being provided to me by my bank, or is it being provided by a third party by my bank? Ultimately, it needs to be seamless. Consumers ultimately do hold in it, the companies responsible for that experience. It is their logo, it is their brand, it is their website, it is their establishment, their channel that you're engaging with, their contact center, their digital app, whatever the case is. And so there is an expectation that companies understand how I want to, as a consumer, engage with them through a digital experience, and that it is ultimately up to them to curate that, to bring me in and to lean me in, and to really not again you know bring in technology from the standpoint of, well, we need to just be efficient. We need to find a way to engage with our clients in a different way, but that's not how our clients want to engage with us, or our customers want to engage with us. They really have to understand really that emotional connection, the attachment to the brand, and think about, okay, trust is really important. How are we being transparent? And then how do we, again, establish that control to our customer, to us, again, make sure they know they're in control, and they're not losing that control. That is something that's really, really important.
Makes me think of, though, like, third party resellers. If I buy something, there's nothing that irritates me more as a consumer. If I buy something through a website and then they say, well, we don't really sell that to you directly. You can't really return that to our store. It's through a third party. I don't know that. I bought that from you. So that's a friction point. So that's something that just is a, consumer sort of a pet peeve of mine. When you don't know, some of these larger stores, like a Walmart.com or a Target, they may be selling through a third party reseller and then they don't accept the responsibility. So that is definitely a friction point as a consumer. But
It is, but again, that gets down to the aspect of transparency, and and
mm,
again, understanding, okay, what is that process? Being very transparent with that engagement model that you're asking, and what the consumer is able to now do, what they're not able to do, because ultimately they're going to expect that from the brand, not really the third
mm,
party. There's that really that forgiveness metric if you will, in terms of
Mhm.
CX. Like, how much are we going to forgive? Certain experiences we will. We're all consumers. We have a bank account. There's deposits. There's withdrawals. So that
Mm.
would, that's really up to the consumer. But those who are devising those channels for engagement, those better experiences, have to go through the process. So it's not just the technology; it's what are the steps, what's the journey that we're now having our customers engage with, and where is that friction point that may drive a negative experience or a positive experience. And you have to really make sure that you're focusing, of course, on the positive, and where there's a negative, you have to address it.
Right, right. Now, are you seeing differences by industry verticals?
I would say, the financial services and banking, as you can imagine, they're leaning in, heavy on this from the standpoint of AI, automation, DIY, and being able to really engage with the brand in areas really that, some ways with certain activities are more efficient or more regular. But you have to remember, though, you're building a relationship. You're not, so there needs to be, again, that, as I said earlier, that human still interaction, as well as with that, I would say digital interaction as well. I would say that is the one group. I would say that retail's looking at this as well, and I've been noticing some questions that are coming from even the OEM side, and
Hmm.
OEMs certainly, and are certainly looking into this, and of course with healthcare, healthcare is certainly an area of growth and certainly of opportunities, but that's also an area, of course, that needs to be, they have to ask those right questions. Okay, like what do we want to provide to our customers where we can automate and make it easy and show a return, most importantly for our customers, for our members, for our patients, that again it drives a better experiences and illuminates the brand in a very positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that digital patient engagement experience is something that we take very seriously here at Zappix, but can also really produce very rich dividends when you're using it. And again, going back to the use cases, when you're using it to drive, patient no-shows, to decrease patient no-shows, to get follow-up care, to do pre and post care for a patient, to have that ease of communication is really, really important. You also mentioned obviously the fintech. Do you do any work with credit unions? Because I think credit unions have a very unique challenge because they are member based and they're often competing with the big banks that have all the bells and whistles, and they may be slimmer teams and trying to still offer that level of consumer engagement with far less tools in the toolbox. So are you seeing any of that?
I've been hearing about that. I can see that happening as well and evolving. Certainly, they need that competitive advantage as well. But I think at the end of the day, FinServe, all different types of banks, they have to ask the question about, okay, well, again, what type of relationship do we want to have with our customers? That needs to be the ultimate question. And again, there's you know, I bank in various ways right now, and I would say, to be honest, I'm not sure if my bank knows me because of the way that
Mm.
they are engaging with me and sharing some of the kind of the ways, like my, whether it's products or whether it's the way that they want me to try help me engage, like, but I don't want to engage this way. So I think this is the way that they have to take a step back and understand who am I, who are you, who are their key customers to grow over time, and and frankly, what do they then need to establish in order to be, creating that lifetime customer value, and not again jeopardizing, again, not just the value of their customers, but their brand, in order to look at ways to improve a little bit more of that efficiencies of engagement.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. So, meeting people where they're at, understanding their preferences about how they want to be communicated with, and then reaching them on the channel of their choice in a frictionless way. Yes. Very, very important. And I think it's not a one size fits all solution.
No, I mean, and that's again the questions that they're having. Our clients is again, how do we ultimately scale? How do we, also teach our employees? I mean, there's the aspect also around EX. So,
Mhm.
you talk about, this is all about making sure that again, from the patient standpoint and from consumers, that there's a better experience and helps the brand. But on the EX side, you're actually now providing time savings. You're now providing greater, means for others to do other things, I won't say more meaningful work, but perhaps where perhaps things where their time could be better used versus in the past. Um, so I would say, yeah, not everything does fit in a clean box, and I think this is where, from a roadmap standpoint, they're asking those questions: Do we build it? How do we build it? How do we pilot it? How do we measure success? And really, what are our standards going to be in terms of, how we are transparent and what our policies are and what data we're bringing in and how data will be used, frankly, in order to then, understand more about how they want to interact with their customers.
Awesome. I mean, and I think, it has to be the strong foundation. It's got to be built just like you'd build a house. Strong, safe, and secure foundation to build up, right?
100%. And again, the trust is around that, and you can't ever forget, and you have to keep monitoring it. I mean, it is so fluid and so dynamic that you have to continually look at, again, data, engagement. Is it working? Is it not working? How do you again even measure the success of the types of initiatives that you're asking your consumers to engage with? And when do you actually make some of those other changes?
Well, I could talk to you all day. This is such an exciting time. You strike me as someone that you just are so excited in this space right now. It's a really great opportunity for really the future of the industry, and everyone's got to be changing rapidly. So we're going to be leaning on good, smart people like you to help guide us along this, the next iteration in the next 6, 12, 18 months. Like I'll leave you with this final question. What's your prediction for the next, like I said, 6, 12, 18 months ahead? What does that look like?
AI agents is something I think really big, very personalized, really again understanding the customer in greater details, being able to really personalize something, and frankly being able to give a better experience through these means than we've seen in a long time. So I would say very exciting times, Valerie. It's a little uncharted. I would say a lot of companies again are going to be also be thinking about how do we again engage with our employees? How do they maybe get certified? How do they engage with our tools? So there's a lot of internal and external things happening. It's an exciting time to have that come into the CX world.
Absolutely. Well, this has been an exciting conversation, and I thank you for making the time to sit down with me today, Laurence. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Valerie. Pleasure is mine as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.